Also, what is even more important, my bounce is now up here. So my bounce is going to have no impact on helping me get a good strike. As I approach the green now, I'm 30 yards from the front edge. I'm actually about 50 yards from the flag, making this shot super important. Now, if you're the type of golfer that hits the par fours in, well, hopefully sometimes 2, but most of the time 3, this is the type of shot that is so crucial to your score. Or even if it's a 3rd shot on a par 5, we've got to make sure that, I would always say, pit 2 putt. Try and get down from this position in 3. If you get down in 2, amazing, well done. But we want to avoid those horror shows of getting down in 4 or 5 from this position. A hole can go seriously wrong from here. But we're going to be talking in today's video about the bounce on your club to make sure you've got the suitable clubs for this type of shot. We're going to be talking a little bit about setup, how you should be aligned to the golf ball relative to the target, and a little bit as well on the golf swing, making sure that you're actually getting into the correct impact position, because again, that is crucial, especially when we've spoken about points 1 and 2. The bounce on your golf club is so important. I recently got fitted for the Vokey SM10s and it blew my mind, if I'm honest. I've never had a wedge fitting before. I've always just kind of gone, yeah, I want to open the blade, so I'll get that grind. And this blew my mind. Now, it makes a huge difference what type of golf course you play on. If you're on a parkland course where the fairways are generally a little bit fluffier, even in the summer, or if you play lots of links golf where you tend to find that the fairways are tighter, then you will need 2 different types of bounce on the golf club, and possibly even grind depending on what type of wedge you're wanting to buy. Now, the bounce is key. The bounce is basically the angle between this leading edge and the bottom of the ground. Okay, so that is my bounce. My bounce on this 54 degree is a 10 degree bounce, and the S is an S grind. So that's the type of club head. So we're not going to get too much into that. That's a video for a later date. But what's important here is the number 10. I've got 10 degrees of bounce. Now, if I played on a really tight links golf course, I might go for like an 8 or a 6 degree bounce, because I don't want too much of this bouncing into a hard fairway. I'm on a parkland golf course here, so the grass is tending to be a little bit longer, so I want to use this part of my golf club to make me a good picture. This part of my golf club is vital. What I don't want to do, I don't want the golf club coming in like this, for 2 reasons. You'll notice I've just adjusted that 54 degrees of loft and I've turned it into about 27. And that is not a good place to be, because obviously the golf ball is going to come out flatter and go further. Also, what is even more important, my bounce is now up here. So my bounce is going to have no impact on helping me get a good strike. The only point of contact with the ground and the golf ball is going to be this leading edge, or sorry, at least with the ground, it's going to be the leading edge. That could potentially dig into the ground. What you'll also notice as I do that, my shaft is leant towards the target. So when you get a shaft that leans more towards the target and we reduce the bounce, the angle of the club coming into the ball becomes much steeper. And if it's led by the leading edge, we can get that style of shot. Okay, sorry to Stuart, the greenkeeper, but that's the style of shot we'll see a lot. If you try to get clean and you lose the bounce, you dig into the ground. If you use the bounce, then you'll hear the club hitting the ground here, but I'm not digging. Okay, they would be good strikes. I'm using the bounce of the club. This part of the club is gliding along the ground, and obviously this part of the club 2 or 3 grooves up, is making connection with the ball. So that's a relatively brief discussion on bounce. So make sure you understand bounce, make sure you understand what clubs you have. What you'll also find as a general tip, if you have like your set of clubs and it goes down to a sand wedge, like a cavity back sand wedge will have a lot of bounce. So if you go and play any sort of golf course that's on a tight lie, certainly do not open the club face, because what you're doing is you're increasing the bounce. Look at the angle of my leading edge as I open the face. The angle becomes super high. Okay, so now this part of the golf club would be right into the middle of my golf ball. On a tight lie, that's just going to bounce off the ground. If I'm in the rough and the grass is going to be in here, so it's not too bad. But on tight lies, if you open the face with a lot of bounce, you are in thin city. Don't do it. Okay, so understand your wedges. That is a hugely important aspect of this video. Next, we're going to move into setup. So 50 yards, 30 yards. We don't necessarily we don't want that kind of really narrow chipping setup, but we also don't want the super wide kind of standard setup with your arms further away from the golf ball. I want a bit of a hybrid of the two. So what I tend to do is from setup here, I would go into your normal 7-9 position where your arms are extended away from the body a little bit and the ball's quite a long way away, feet shoulder width apart. Now I want you to adjust. I want you to bring your feet in to around about waist width, and I want you to step into the golf ball. Then I want you to point both feet towards the target, okay? So now I've got the ball position on the inside of my lead heel. My body weight is going to be ever so slightly into my lead side. And one thing I'm not going to make sure you do, please make sure you don't have too much shaft lean. I see this a lot. Again, just to go off on a slight tangent, golfers that have a super strong trail hand grip often end up with lots of shaft lean. If you've got a strong grip and lots of shaft lean, if we go back to what we were talking about at the start of the video in regards to bounce, you're losing your bounce, you're going to be a digger. We don't want you to be a digger. So clubbing behind the ball, my feet are pointing just left of the ball, my weight is just on my left side, ball position is in the middle of my toes or more towards my left heel because of the angles that I'm now stood on, and I'm much closer to the ball, so my sternum is more over the golf ball. All right, this is giving me an angle of attack to work from where the club works downwards. If I stand too far away, the arc, that circle around my body becomes flatter, therefore the angle of attack becomes shallower and I can't get down to the ground. And we often see this style of shot where you just top it and then, like I said before, you're in the bunker and you're in a pretty difficult predicament. So as I bring the ball back in, we're going to go a little bit closer to the ball, sternum closer, more over the ball, weight slightly into that left side, use the bounce, and that's a nice strike and a nice shot. And not a bad one in relation to target in terms of distance control. So bounce is important, understand your bounce. Secondly, simple movement there in terms of how you should be set up to the golf ball. Like I say, in essence, find that little hybrid section between a 7-iron and a short chip shot. Pitching is right in the center of the two. Lastly, we're going to be talking about swing, rhythm, movements. Okay, so we've got the right bounce, we've got the right setup. We're going to feel that the body, the rotation is coming from the chest and the hips together. So we're getting this rotation back. The hands are staying more in front of the chest. We don't want the golf club going around the body here because that becomes too steep. I don't want the arms lifted straight up in the air because that comes too steep. Sorry, that's too shallow. Okay, so we want that feeling that I would say the left wrist moves towards the right shoulder as the hips and the chest rotate together. Okay, now I'm in that kind of half swing position. A lot of golfers struggle with the half swing because they have a golf swing that's made up of too many manipulations, too complicated. This is a great way to help you in your long game as well. Helps you just understand a few more of the movements and get a little bit more intricate with where you want this golf club to be. In terms of wrist angle, we're going to get, I would say, a half wrist movement. So if you swing and the wrists go to 90 degrees relative to the club, I want you to feel that it's more 45 degrees. So we're keeping that little bit of extra width, and then we can get that gliding action into the golf ball. So we've got a little bit of extra width on the arms. And the key thing for me is make sure through in regards to my body. My club's not worked up and around here, but I've got a full follow through in regards to the rotation of my body. So that's full commitment into the golf ball. So one of the key things I mentioned there, a half wrist hinge, okay? Not 90 degrees, half wrist hinge. Keep the club nice and wide. We've got the right bounce, we've used the bounce. This type of divot is super shallow. We've used the bounce of the club to take a very shallow divot. The one I demonstrated earlier on in the video where I mentioned the leading edge just goes straight down, that's a deep divot. That's almost like you have an entry but no exit. A good divot with a wedge using the bounce gives you an entry and a nice smooth exit as well. Lots to digest in this video. Hopefully it's helped you. If you also think it's going to help some of your friends, please do share it with them as well. But if you're new to the channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. It does make a huge difference, as I always say. And a massive thank you to the fabulous Jumeirah Golf Estates for allowing me to escape that UK winter and come and make some content for you. See you next time, guys.